Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today's video is going to be week 3 of my January 2022 reviews, films that I've watched. So these will be all of the films that I have watched over the last week. Well, it's Saturday to Sunday, well no, Sunday to Saturday rather, other way around. So this is all of last week. As I said, I'm going to do these videos on a Tuesday now because sometimes it takes me a few days to write up my reviews in Letterboxd, and that is what I go off of. But anyway, yeah, we'll get straight onto it with what I watched on the 16th of January, so last Sunday. And the first film I watched of this week was Firewall. So this was a really good thriller starring Harrison Ford, and he plays a bank executive, and his family is taken hostage by bank robbers, and they force him basically to steal money from the bank, but like digitally, not like actual physical money. It's like technology, like, you know, like on like servers and stuff like that. And I just think it was a very clever film. And just when you think something's going to happen, something completely different happens, and it throws you completely off course. There is a lot of suspense, and the pacing is really good for this type of film, and the score accompanies the film very well. So really, if I'm being honest, for what the film is, I really enjoyed it and thought it was a thoroughly good, entertaining watch and a good film overall. So I gave Firewall 3.5 stars out of 5. Next up, I went to the cinema and I saw an unlimited screening of A Journal for Jordan, and knowing this was a true story and that it was also a romantic drama was what drew me into this film, because those are basically just two of my favourite genres, my go-to genres. But I had heard that this has had negative buzz over in America when it came out, so I was a bit hesitant and a bit worried that it wasn't going to be as good as the trailers had made it out to be. But personally, on a personal level, I don't know whether everyone else will feel the same as me, but I thought that it was a very moving film, and it is basically a tribute to the title character's father, and shows how like a love between a mother and his father, and how strong it was. It's just a love story, but it's a true love story. And it's the type of film that you don't necessarily see specifically in cinemas nowadays, so it was nice to see it. And it had great performances from both Michael B. Jordan and newcomer Shantae Adams. And it also had a great score, which really pulled me into the film even more. And the ending had my eyes welling up with tears, and I just thought that it was a satisfying conclusion to what I personally consider a great film. So I gave A Journal for Jordan 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I saw a Clint Eastwood film directed, and that was Mystic River. So I had previously already watched a year or two ago 3/4 of this film, thereabouts, but for some reason, I don't know why, probably was too tired at the time, never finished the film, never went back to it. And as I said, I don't know why, because it was a fantastic film. And I personally think it has career best performances from both Sean Penn and Tim Robbins, who both won Oscars for their roles in this film. And I think this is a film that has several elements to it. It's about a father who is seeking redemption for the murder of his eldest daughter, but he's not like he's bending the lines between good and bad. He wants to be a good man, but he's struggling with it, that type of thing. And then you've also got a man who is struggling with his past, who's something happened to him in his past, and it's like catching up with him in a way. And then a cop trying to solve this crime, the murder of his friend's daughter, and how all their lives intertwine after so many years apart, because they grew up together in the same area. I thought the score for this film was absolutely beautiful, Also, the cinematography was beautiful, and personally, in my opinion, I believe this is one of Clint Eastwood's best directed films, and all in all, just a brilliant film. So I gave Mystic River 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I decided I wanted to watch one of those musicals that I bought a few weeks ago, so I went and decided to watch Annie Get Your Gun. So I will say, as musicals go in general, I will say this was just a very average film to me. I can see why this is considered a classic, and I definitely agree it is, but for me it just didn't do much on a story level. I think the story was pretty average. I will say there were a few memorable songs in here, but I only consider them to be memorable because they are quite big in pop culture. I'd heard them before, and they're just ones I grew up around. But I think for its time, I guess you could say it is pretty good. But I do feel like this film was rushed. And when reading about the production back in the day, I read that originally Judy Garland was attached to the film, and then she was fired. Before that, they had a different director, but Judy Garland didn't want that director on there, so the studio fired that director. So there were clearly problems with the film from the start. But I think nonetheless it is still an enjoyable watch, and it's not overly long, so overall it's a good watch, entertaining enough. So that's Annie Get Your Gun, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, one that I wish I didn't watch. I wasn't feeling particularly good when watching this, but that I suppose is a good thing. I didn't watch a brilliant film and it hindered my enjoyment. I watched one of the worst films I've seen in a long time. In fact, I only gave this film, I'll say the rating before, I gave it half a star because it was that bad. And that is Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. So I would say that these films definitely decline in quality with each sequel, and this film just further proves it. Each film just gets worse and worse, and this was honestly a chore to get through, for the most part, I'll say. It feels like it's a film that nobody involved really wanted to make. It felt like a contractual obligation. The original director of the first 3 films didn't want to come back to it, and Adam Sandler and Kevin James didn't return to voice their characters. I guess they didn't want to be a part of it either. I think the writing's lazy, the jokes fell flat, and I feel like now this franchise is dead, and I believe this is the last one, which is good, because this overall is just a very poorly made film, and it has little to no positives about it. The only thing, which is why I gave it half a star, is the animation is good. The animation always holds up in these films, but that is about all the positives that I can say about it. Don't watch this. You can spend your time watching something much better than this. It's abysmal, I'll say, and will more than likely be on the worst of the year list. Yes, children will probably find enjoyment out of this, but this wasn't one for me. Didn't think it was good at all, and as I said, I gave it half a star out of 5. Next up, I went to the cinema. This is Saturday's the last day, but I watched 3 films on Saturday, so there's quite a few to talk about. The film I saw at the cinema was Nightmare Alley. So this is Guillermo del Toro's new film, and having really enjoyed The Shape of Water, I was really looking forward to checking this out because it had the same sort of feel from the trailer, and this was very much more of his tone, more of the same of his tone, and I really enjoy his tone in his films. He's some of the best filmmaking in Del Toro films, and that's probably because it's a very unique tone. This film definitely delivers on that. I think that this could be his most ambitious film yet. I think it's probably his longest film as well. I could be wrong, but it is quite long, 2.5 hours. But it has an absolutely fantastic story, and it's got some of the best cinematography I've seen in a film for years. It just matches the tone of the film, like the darkness of the film. The atmosphere of the film overall is very dark, and the cinematography is very dark and gritty, and the camera work's just excellent. It just really matched the cinematography and the tone. Bradley Cooper is great as the lead character, and it also has a fantastic supporting ensemble cast, and each of their characters brings something to the film, which is always a good thing. I think this is just a great film noir film, and all in all a great piece of cinema, and is one of the best I've seen for about half a year. It's probably top 20 films over the last 2 years, more than likely. I gave Nightmare Alley 4.5 stars out of 5. And then 2 more next up, I decided to watch another Clint Eastwood directed film, but this time a war film, and I watched Flags of Our Fathers. And I will say, as far as war films go, this was good, just good, but it was nowhere near up there with the likes of 1917 and Saving Private Ryan and films like that. Hacksaw Ridge. Whilst this has got some war scenes in it at war, this film is more focused on the events that take place after the flag is placed on the mountain in Iwo Jima and the repercussions of that specific event. I believe there wasn't really any particular standout performance in the film. The leads weren't particularly great. They didn't really do much. I think they were miscast personally. I think he wanted to try and get unknown actors that hadn't really done much or had a name for themselves and try and make them famous from that. But they didn't really do it successfully. Not great performances, I would say. But however, the story was very interesting, and I actually learned things that I didn't know about the war from this film, and I think that's always a good thing when watching a film of this nature, to look like a historical war film. Learning things you didn't know before always makes the film better, and I had fun with this film, but it wasn't as good as it could have been, I felt. But I did give Flags of Our Fathers 3.5 stars out of 5. And the final film that I watched last week, I watched a romantic comedy called Music and Lyrics. Now, I will say critically and probably from a technical level, this isn't a great film, but as you may know if you have watched my channel for some time, I am a fan of romantic comedies. They are one of my favourite genres, although they can still be hit or miss. I did watch another Drew Barrymore one recently, Go in the Distance, which I thought was just very average. But this, however, was a very entertaining film and a fun watch. I think Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore had really good chemistry in the film, and for what the story was, I really enjoyed it. The music in this was also really good, and overall I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought it would. It basically focuses on this old has-been pop star who is struggling for work, and the big pop star girl of the time asks him to write a song for them to sing together, but he's not very good at writing songs. He's in a bit of a slump, and it just so happens that the girl who comes in to water his plants likes writing, and she and him start writing lyrics for this new song together. But they fall in love whilst doing it, and it's just a really nice, sweet rom-com. Not for everyone, I will say, but I really, really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it was, which is why I gave Music and Lyrics 4 out of 5 stars. Yes, it's a bit high. Yes, it's not actually a 4 out of 5 star film, probably more 3-star film, but I enjoyed it, so I'm giving it 4 out of 5 and recommending it. But I would definitely say the highlight of last week was Nightmare Alley. If you can, get out and go and see it at your cinema. It's just a really great piece of film, and as I say, one of the best I've seen in a long time. So yeah, but that is everything that I watched this week. Have you seen any of those films that I've talked about? What did you watch this week? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a like. I would say dislike the video if you think that there's something bad about the video and you want me to improve it, but I've learned over the last week that apparently there is no dislike button anymore. I haven't looked, but I've heard from several YouTubers that this is the case, so I won't say that anymore. I'll just say like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you want to see more videos like this, and turn your notification bell on so you know when I have a new video uploaded onto the channel. Comment down below anything and everything, As you know, I get back to anyone that takes the time to leave a comment because I do appreciate it. As I say, let me know what you watched this week and what your thoughts on the films I watched over the last week are, if you have seen them. If there are any that you are now interested in watching, let me know. I will get back to you. And until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye.